Hey everyone, so today I'm going to be replacing the tire on this Onewheel Plus. This is my brother-in-law's Onewheel. He's had this same stock Vega tire on here since he got it, and as you can see, this thing has a lot of holes in it. There's a lot of punctures. You can see that Armadillo is just not doing the trick. I filled this thing up yesterday at 27 psi just for a test, and let's see what it's at today just to give you an idea how bad this thing's leaking. So let's see here. So we got 12.5 psi. So that's after one day. So obviously it's time for this thing to be replaced. So he purchased this Burris slick tire from the Float Life. This is the SS11 compound. So this is the lighter, which means it's going to be a lot softer. It's going to be a very smooth ride, especially smoother than a treaded tire, or probably even smoother than this. So we're gonna put this thing on here and see how it rides. All right, so first thing first, I'm gonna flip this thing upside down, and I'm gonna remove this float plate because I want to get access to the panel that's underneath here. And if you want to save some time, just throw your hex bit on a drill. Make sure you have it on the lowest setting. You don't want to overrun these screws ever. So I just put on the lowest torque setting, so that way I'm never over screwing or stripping any of these holes out. Okay. And here you can see we got the compartment here. Under here we've got all of our plugs that we need to get to. So we've already got those screws out from the float plates. So now just pop this bad boy off. All right, so here you see you've got 3 plugs here, and today we're going to be removing this plug, the black plug, and this plug right here. So first with these plugs, there's a little white tab. What you're going to want to do is pull that tab back. Okay, I broke that. That's not good, but we'll be fine. And then after that, you're going to want to depress this until it clicks, and then it's going to allow you to pull out. Okay, so we got that one. That one clicked. And you're actually going to want to, once you click it, you're going to want to keep pressure on it so you can pull it out. Sometimes it's a little bit of a pain. There we go. There's that one. And then I like to use the small channel lock for this. You can also use like a needle nose, but I really like the channel locks. I'm just gonna unscrew that. And I had already unscrewed this first nut here, so this back one kind of acts as a jam nut. Once you get that all the way unscrewed, I'm just gonna pull it right out. Okay, so now that's all disconnected. So the next thing I'm gonna do is remove these small little Phillips screws here. There's 3 of them total. And those hold the wire clips. And these are tiny little screws that you do not want to lose. There's the 3rd one back here. Okay, so now those clips will just come right off. You're going to want to make sure that you keep these clips with the little screws, because if you lose them, good luck finding other ones. So I'm just going to get these out of here. Okay, now the next one I'm going to remove is this little axle cover here, and it's just the little cover that holds down that wire, which again is another rare little screw. Looks like the same size. Those 2. And then there's 2 more over here. All right, so we got those all off. Now I'm just gonna try to get something underneath to pry those little covers off. So whatever you got. This is my valve core puller. It conveniently fits right underneath there, so it's perfect. So once again, you do not want to lose that stuff. It's very important, and you're gonna have a hard time finding more. So the next thing we're gonna do is loosen up these axle bolts. So these are usually on here pretty good. So you're gonna have to put a little bit of elbow grease into it. So we got 4 of those, and those have the blue Loctite on them. So what I like to do is right after I pull these off, I'm going to grab some Loctite and throw it on there and let it dry, so that when it's time to put them back on, that Loctite sets up, and then it'll do its job again. But if you don't put the Loctite back on there, you could find that over time your axle bolts get loose as you're riding, and that could lead to problems down the road. So you want to make sure that those are in there really good. Alright, so now this tire should come right off of there. There you go. So there's the board. It's pretty cool. Kind of fun seeing it without the tire. So now what I'm going to do is break the bead. But before I do that, I'm going to remove this valve core. So inside here you see there's your valve core, and right now it's got air in it still. So what I'm going to do is let that air out first so I don't get blasted. And here's that valve core tool. So what I'm going to do here is just get this out. And there's the valve core. Very standard, very cheap. I recommend just replacing it when you're doing a new one. Very easy to go get. You can get like 30 of them for like $5. You can actually get a bead breaker. They're around, I think they're around $40. But I saw Jeff McCosker post something where you can do it with 2x4s. So I actually have some 1x2s here, and I'll show you how you do that. It's very simple, and I've done it 3 times now, and it works great. Now you don't have to do this, but I like to try to protect the whole axle right here and this cord. So I'm just going to space these out so I have just enough room for the axle to sit in the middle. Set this down, and then you're going to want to rest this 1x2 or 2x4 pretty much right on the edge of this rim. Like you want it maybe like a ½ inch past where the rim is, so that when you step on it, you're not stepping on the rim, obviously. So all you're going to do is get that set up and kick it. So I'm going to do that again. Other side. That's it. Alright, so this one's a lot easier. I'm just going to peel it out of here. Use that groove to my advantage. There we go. Alright, so there's our tire. It's got a lot of slime in there. 2 different kinds in the garbage. So now you don't have to do this, but I just like to because I don't want to have a huge mess in my little work area here. So I'm just going to clean this up nicely. With our new tire, I'm going to want to use some bead setting lubricant. So this is a tire bead lubricant, and what I did was I cut it down a little bit with some Windex, and I threw it inside this Windex bottle here. So this is just going to help everything be applied easier. So I'm just going to put some on each side. I'm going to work it around with my fingers. In order to get this thing in here, it shouldn't be too bad because I got that lubricant on there. There we go. So that side's in. We're good. Now we want to get this side on. So I'm going to use that groove once again. All right. Alright, so now I got it on both sides. It was a huge pain, but still better than paying someone else to do it, right? So I'm going to put this lubricant on both sides. And then what I like to do is before I put any air in there, I'm just going to try to get the tire as even on here as possible, just so that it seats evenly. So that's looking good. Now what I'm going to do is take these boards. I'm going to hold this tire in place so it doesn't roll on me. And then I'm going to put this valve core back in. Because we need to fill with air. And once you get this thing on here, you're just going to essentially get it locked down and kind of stand back because you don't want to have the tire explode. There's a chance of that happening. And we're going to... There's one. There's the other one. Take that back off. And what I'm going to do right away is take the air out again. Then we're going to put that slime in there. So, get my valve tool again. First I'm going to let off this air. Okay. And this is a new slime, or a new sealant by the Float Life, so it's supposed to be really good, lightweight, and we're going to use about half of the bottle on this today. It's crazy how much these tires change shape. Like right now when this thing has nothing in it, it just looks kind of like the Vega, but then once you fill it up, it gets real nice and rounded. I remember when I put my first Burris on my XR, I got it and I was like, I thought this thing was supposed to be a lot more rounded. I was a little worried, but then once I saw how nice it was, you know, once you fill it with air, it was, my problems were gone. My worries were gone, I should say. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead, fill this up. All right, so before I put this on, I'm gonna put some Loctite on these axle bolts so I don't forget. And when I put them on there, you just put a nice little dab, and it's, you can kind of use their old Loctite mark is where you want to put it. So I'm gonna throw a dab on there. I'm just gonna use my finger to work it all the way around. A little bit more. And then I'm going to give that like 5 to 10 minutes, let it set up before I apply them to the Onewheel. Alright, so now we've got the tire, it's got the sealant in there, we got it all pumped up, and now we're just going to basically do everything in reverse order. So, I'm going to grab the board, stick it right on there. I'm going to get these connectors up through while I got the room. Then I'm also going to just take those connectors and just, while I have the space, because nothing's connected, I'm just going to plug these in, or at least get them started. And you want to make sure that you've got this lined up right, because you don't want to have any of those pins bend in there. That'll be a big problem. So yeah, I just got them started. Now I'm going to grab the axle bolts and I'm just going to thread them in there by hand. I'm going to tuck this in. There we go. Okay, get everything in the groove. And you can kind of just eye up where the threads are in there. I'm just going to get it started. There we go. This side. Okay. Now we're getting somewhere. Okay, so next I'm going to do the little clips that cover up the axles. And they also hold those wires in place. And I know you guys can't see what I'm doing on this side, but it's pretty simple, so you'll get to see it on the other side, don't worry. I'm just going to take that clip. I'm going to make sure that the tire's in this, or I'm sorry, I'm going to make sure that this cable is in the groove and that this clip sits nice and flush. screws in there. Okay, then next I'm going to do the small little cable clips. And those are really, the purpose of those is just keeping the cable where it's supposed to be. So you're just going to tuck it right underneath the rail, line up the threads so you can see them nice and evenly, and tighten them down. Right. And there's just one on this side. Alright, so those are all tightened. Now I'm going to finish plugging these in, and you're going to want to make sure you hear the click, or feel the click, and then you're going to push that white tab forward. And then for this circular plug here, what you're going to want to do is make sure you're plugged in all the way. And then, like I said, that first one is the one that's actually going to lock it in place. You're going to want to hear it click or feel it. And then this back one is just kind of like a jam nut. So you want to make sure that that's nice and tight, and that's going to hold that front one in place. I'm just going to give it a little tighten with my channel locks, but nothing crazy. Now this one is the one that I broke the white clip off of, so I'm going to see how that's going to go. I might have to look into getting a replacement clip. I'm not sure where to go to do that, so that'll be a little bit interesting, but I'm just going to see if I can get it in place, and hopefully it'll do the job, but I'm not really counting on it, but looks like it is. So alright, so hopefully that'll stay now. So next I'm just going to put this cover back on. So now I got the cover back on, so I can put the float plates back on, or the float plate. I didn't have to take off the other one. I'm a big fan of these float plates. They have definitely helped me protect my XR, and these are actually my old ones, and I put them on my brother-in-law's board just to kind of help him out a little bit. He's had a few scenarios where, and I think it had to do with his tire leaking pressure so much, but he's had a couple nosedives that were a little bit suspect, and he's been a little bit skeptical about the Onewheel since then, and I keep trying to tell him that, you know, it's very important to have air in your tire. That's definitely something that you want to have. The board's working a little bit too hard if it's got no air in there, obviously. One time we checked it and he had 6 PSI, and I was like, there's no way that's acceptable. Maybe if you weighed 60 pounds, but he's definitely a little more than 60 pounds. Not much, but a little. Okay, so now when it comes to tightening down the axle bolts, I'm not sure if this is really necessary, but I listened to the Voice of Onewheel podcast, and they had Jack on there, and he's from Future Motion, and they were kind of talking about the riders in the Onewheel community basically doing repairs on their own and how they were skeptical of it. And one thing that he did mention is when you are putting on a tire that you should use a milk crate. So like I said, I'm not sure if there's any validity to that, but just to be safe, I'm gonna do it, especially with someone else's board. I don't need to be responsible for someone else getting hurt. So what I'm going to do is tighten these down in a cross pattern. So I'm going to start here in the front, then I'm going to go here to the back, then I'm going to go here to the front, and then back to this side on the back. And that's really all it is. And what I'm going to do is just tighten them down probably like 3/4 of the way first to start, and then I'll go back and finish them off and really give them everything. Okay, so now I'm really tighten them down. And I did reapply the Loctite on there, so hopefully that'll help keep them tight. Okay. So that is Jacob's new tire. So we are gonna go on a little cruise. It's 53 degrees today in Wisconsin, and we've had one other day that was that warm in the last 4 months. So we're pretty excited to get out there and try this out, and I'm excited to ride my board, and yeah, we'll see how he likes it. How's it feel going over the bumps?
Nice. Soft. I like this tire. They're getting better and better. Every tire I've been on.
Yeah.
And this one burns a lot better, softer. And I wanted something quiet. And that's why I didn't go with the threaded.
Yeah.
I really like it to be quiet, but I think this tire I've ever been on.
Yeah. Oh, I bet.
Oh yeah, here we got a dog wearing a sweatshirt here. Nice greyhound. Nice looking dog. Hey, what's up? Okay, I got a little lake here. Here comes a guy on a bike. Yeah, it's too fast if you ask me. I mean, people out here walking and that guy's flying around.